define sales document types. Inside sales document types, we were just discussing about certain fields that we had, right? So we had created some ZTM, or there was a new sales document type that we had created, which was again kind of a standard order. Okay, so we so we were discussing about, okay, the main control of a sales document type lies in the sales SD document category. So that is what which controls main, like, how you have your account groups that controls your customer master, and material type that controls your material master, and the sales document category is what that controls whether it's a sales order, whether it's a quotation, or whether it's in the inquiry and all. And again, whenever you create, how how is it different that the controls that would be there is, like, if you create a quotations, then your validity period will be asked for mandatory. And if in case for an inquiry, like, it doesn't get posted anywhere. So, like, how everything, like, whenever you're creating a quotation, how the validity period will be asked. In case of an order, how it will be, every control mainly will be lying in here in the SD document category. So SD document category is what that controls the sales document type. Okay, then we discussed about certain general controls that we have. Okay, what is a credit limit, and again, check division, reference mandatory, output and all. Okay, anyway, we'll just talk about it until read info record. So until here we just covered this general control section that we have. Now let's just continue with the transaction flow. Okay, here, in this transaction flow, uh, so this is another section that we have here. You have the first thing that you have here is known as the screen sequence group. Screen sequence group is nothing but, here it is mainly mentioning about, let's say, how your screen should be there in a particular sales order, whether, like, if you, whenever we just go to a particular screen, right? For example, if I just go, let me just open an inquiry or a quotation. Okay, slash o, just open an inquiry. Okay, this is not the one that we were using. Okay, let me just see if in case I don't remember which one that we were using. No, okay, let me just check in our, some data refresh. Okay, I think might be the data is gone, I guess. Okay, let's try to check what is existing. If in case there will be something, if not, we'll have to create our own enterprise structure. No, nothing. Okay, I think the data got refreshed. Nothing is available. Okay, let's try to see. Let's try to take an existing enterprise structure that we will have. Maybe I'm trying to check something. Okay, Z00, Z000. If I try to create an inquiry, /o VA11 inquiry Z0 and 00. I will not create anything because we don't have any customer material, just to see the screen. So here, whenever you enter here, like in an inquiry or in a quotation, whenever you enter, you can see here the first thing that appears is you'll have valid from and valid to, and directly it is going to the item overview screen. Let it just get loaded. Okay, now here you have it directly going to the item overview screen, and the data screen here is directly coming into the which has this valid from valid to and all. And whenever I just go to my /o VA01 and try to enter a screen there, or Z00 Z0 Z0. So here you will have, for example, let's say here the sequence of the the screens that you will have here. It looks to be like sales, say, sales overview, sales detail, ordering party, procurement, and all. But directly it will be going into the sales view. Here you are directly going into the item overview. It directly goes into the item overview screen. And if you just go to delivery, it looks to be different. So how is that the screen, mainly the screen layout of it will be like, the screen sequence, the sequence of the screen, what it should be and how it needs to be is mainly controlled by this, this screen sequence group. So basically the data entered in the screen that uh, you'll use for example, for a sales order, what is mainly relevant is your sales screen. For an inquiry and quotation, might be what is mainly relevant is your valid from and valid to, this kind of screen that would be there. So depending upon what depending upon the document type, you will have different screen sequence group that is defined by SAP. So you'll have multiple options in SAP. For sales orders, you'll have AU that will be maintained. For inquiries and quotation, you have one. For contracts, you have KM. So like this, for returns, you have RE. So whenever you open any document type with RE, a sales order type with RE, then the screens that needs to be looked would be different. Instead of or, let's say if I just go to VS01 and if I just give RE, then the screen, you can see here, it is asking for, okay, now there is a billing block, delivery block in the sales overview screen that you can see. Whereas in your regular sales order, that will not be the one that would be mainly highlighted here. Here it is asking, okay, they're just there, but here they're just asking with a with certain values, with certain things filled in and all. How is that is coming is mainly because of this screen sequence group and all. So it's basically like, it's not anything that is big. It just controls, it's just telling to SAP what screen and field should appear in what sequence. So basically that's it. So it's just that, it does not have any control on any of the fields or anything. It's just the screen sequence that it has been told to SAP, saying that, okay, you would like to see mainly, let's say, a sales order. It does not mean that, you will have a different values that would be coming differently, because if you select now, instead of for AU, if you just try to select inquiry AG, then there won't be any much of a difference. It's just that this, okay, TRs are also gone. Let me just create. So if I just give AG, and if I just go back, I think we are using for ZTM, right? If I use ZTM, go back, VA01 ZTM. And still, I think I need to refresh it and come. But okay, you can just check it. It's just that the screen sequence would be kind of different whenever you select AG or AU. Whenever you're creating it, just change that. And because I think sometimes the refresh will be the problem, so it will ask you to log out or log in or something. So you can once it is done, you can just see that. Okay. Then here you have display range. So this display range is mainly it will be useful whenever you have BOM, like we have a concept called bill of material. We'll talk about it. So basically I already explained, like you'll have like a computer where you'll have multiple sub items. Let's say monitor, you have a keyboard, you have a mouse, and so on and so forth, right? So this display range is like it's saying that whether the value selected in the field, like it has to display all the line items, or it has to display only the let's say only the main item, not the sub item, or only the line item. So you can control this. If you select you all, which means whenever you're creating a sales order, it displays all the line items, both the main item as well as your sub item. So if you select main item here, then it will only display your header level item, like the main computer. It does not display let's say your separately those items like keyboard, monitor, all that, the part of BOM will not be displayed. If you select selected items, which means it will display only the item details but not the header details, which means it monitor, keyboard, mouse, like that in your sales orders, but not the computer as a whole item. But if you display you all, then it will display all the items. Okay, so this is mainly the display range, which will be mainly used in terms of BOM. So when we are talking about a BOM concept, you can also play around with this field. You will be knowing it in detail. Okay, then we have incompletion procedure. Okay, incompletion procedure is also another one that we will be discussing. Like in terms of creating, this is also separate concept. So basically, like while creating your sales order, how do you'll be defining what are all the fields are mandatory, what are all the fields are optional. If you remember, when we're creating some sales order, we went inside here, we went into the edit, and we're seeing the incompletion log, what is incomplete, what is complete. So in the incompletion procedure itself, we will be defining what are all the fields are mandatory for the sales order to save. Okay, so there is something called an incompletion procedure that we'll be doing. Based on that, the incompletion log gets generated. So here, that incompletion procedure, once you create, will be assigned to your sales document type. Accordingly, it will be asking, okay, which is which is complete, which is incomplete, and all you will be able to find with the help of this incompletion procedure. But again, this is another concept. We'll try to talk about it when we come to that particular topic. Okay, all right. So now again, coming to the okay, here we have something called a transaction group. Okay, transaction group is nothing but, again, uh, everything will have, for example, all the sales orders will have, like the what are all the transactions that are grouped together is what which will be controlled by this transaction group. For example, zero zero is for the orders, which means all the transactions related to the sales orders. For example, in the uh, group. So in your sales orders, whenever you talk about your sales orders, what are all the transaction codes that you have? You have VA01, VA02, and VA03. So these are all will be connected to a transaction group called sales orders. Similarly, if in case you have an inquiry, then you have VA11, VA12, sorry, VA11, VA12, and VA13, which is will be for the inquiry. Similarly, for the quotations, we have VA21, then VA22, and VA23. Similarly, for let's say scheduling agreements, you have VA31, VA32, VA33. Similarly, when you're talking about contracts, you'll have VA41, VA42, and VA43. Okay. Then for this is for sales orders, inquiry, quotation, scheduling agreements. This is for contracts. Yeah. Okay. 5 is for your item proposal. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is for item proposal. For item proposal, you have VA51. We'll talk about those concepts when we come to them. Just that at the moment, just the transaction codes, VA52, VA53. So these are all the different transaction codes that we have. So here, depending upon, here we will have all the transactions related to, sales order are actually grouped together. All the transactions related to the inquiries are grouped together. So here, it's mainly which transaction code to use for processing your document type. Okay. Will be depending upon this transaction group you choose. Okay. So if in case you're saying okay, this whenever you're going to VA01 or VA03, uh, then system, VA01 to VA03, then you will be knowing, okay, the transaction group that you'll have, this will be sales order. So whenever you're going to that particular transaction, it's basically the sales order it's there, basically the sales document type that you have. And again, because of, what happens is uh, there is okay, there is something called indices and all. We'll talk about it in detail. Apart from this transaction group, we have some indices as well that controls the sales document type. We have some tables and all. Okay, but we'll talk about it in a later stage. But as of now, you can just remember, all the transaction, which transaction code to be used for processing your document type will mainly depends upon this transaction group you choose. Okay. In this particular document type. So here you are just grouping the different transactions together. And if in case let's say you have your order type and you have maybe not a sales order or something, you have your own requirement that you do in that document type, you can choose B, which means you're not talking about your VA01 or VA02 or VA03. You have some Z something, your own transaction codes that you will have, and you will have your own different order types where you'd like to configure in the business to group them together. Then you can just use it. But if in case you have custom process as well, but here we're just grouping the different transactions that we have into a particular thing called a transaction group. Okay. All right, then here we have FC code for overview screen. Overview screen, here what we have is which exact view, tab that needs to be displayed. For example, this is a sales tab that I'm able to see when I create a sales order. Whenever you created an inquiry quotation, you are able to see something called an item overview screen. So this mainly controls which tab that you need to see as part of the overview screen is what that controls. For example, if in case you select general overview, then you will be able to see this first screen that you have here, mainly while opening your sales order. But if I just change it to item overview screen and just save this for a ZTM instead of the first one. And if you just go back here, let's see, VA01, if you just go inside here, if you enter here, okay, you can see this item overview screen is the screen that you're able to see now. It's not the sales overview screen. So it's the item overview screen is what that is appearing. So in the overview screen, which screen you have to see for, which screen the users would like to see is what you'll maintain here. Okay, UERN1 means it's a general overview, item overview, ordering party, like different. What is the first screen that appears? Whatever is the screen that the user, you know, will have more relevance, where he can enter all the required fields, is this field that he would like to see. So for an inquiry and quotation might be the item overview that he would like to see. He can, if you just go to sales, then he will be able to see the sales order screens and all. Because I think all our data that we have created is, we lost, so I'm not able to create anything, because we'll again have to create the enterprise structure and so on and so forth. And if we just do that again, we'll just waste some time here. So because anyway there's this understanding of the different fields that we have, right? So I think as long as you are able to see this, it should be fine. So let's again create offline the enterprise structures, and we can use it during our discussions. Okay. All right, so this is all about the overview screen that you're able to see here. And again, the transaction group that we spoke, it's okay. Uh, okay, here we have uh, this, and outline agreement messages and all. So basically the purpose of this field is to provide some messages to the user during the order creation. If in case, let's say, while creating a sales order, if you have some, because sometimes the sales order will be created with reference to a quotation and all, with for the same customer, for the same material, if in case there are some open quotations, or there are some open outline agreements that are there, you know if in case they're available, then, like, you just you just need to give in a user saying that, okay, when you're directly creating a sales order, telling him, like, boss, no, you have you already have uh, let's say a quotation or an outline agreement open. You can copy with reference to that quotation, you can create this sales order with reference to a quotation or not. It's just a message that will be sent if in case you're directly creating an order. Mm, Maybe he is not using an quotation as a reference to create an order, so just making him like, a check saying that, okay, you have an open quotation, you can use that quotation to create your sales order. Similarly, whether the check has to be at the header level or the item level. Header level means it will check only based on the customer. Item level means it will check based on the customer and the material, if there are some open quotations and all. Similarly, if in case there are some open agreements that are there, it will also check it. If you want to check it, or if you don't want to check it, is what you can control by these messages, quotation messages and outline agreement messages. Okay, when you make it B, now when you have a quotation that you create, uh, we'll just create once our data is done. Once we create some data, then post which, when you try to create, let's say, a sales order without using that quotation, then you will have some messages saying that, okay, you have some open quotations and all. Let me see if in case /o AC16N, we will just try to see if there is something with this sales area. If I just go to VBAK and sales organization Z00, distribution channel is Z0, and division is 00. There is no value. Let's see if in case we have something that we can work on. But not very old. I'll just try to see a report that is there from the past 1 year or something, if it would be there. It might help. Okay, there is nothing from past 1 year, because if you try to take the old data that is available in the system, sometimes they're all 1997, 1996 data and all, will not really help us. Let me try to see maybe from mm, okay. Then nothing. Then let's not worry because let's create our own data, or else it will be of no use. But anyway, just show. Let's say if you have this, if I try to create an inquiry here or a sales order, let me just try to take this sales order and see what is there inside. It's from 1997, but still, if in case there is something that would be displayed here or not, let me just see. Okay, good. There is a data. Okay, let's try to see if in case I could create a quotation, this data, fashion VA 21. I'll enter QT. I'll take the sales area details as this 1010.00. Enter. I'll give some quotation of for this sold to party. Okay, then you will have a validity period. I'll enter this particular material. Yeah, quantity 1. Let's enter this, or maybe some quantity 10 I will enter. Okay, let's go check our incompletion procedure. It should ask for valid from and valid to, because valid to is important. I would say, okay, go back. I'll give the validity period. Maybe it starts from today until the quotation is valid until 30/10. It's valid for 2 months. The price that you have here, or maybe I'll just give some 10 quantity. Okay, then now just go to your incompletion procedure. It's all done. Just pivot date, I'll just give it as today, and I just save this. Okay, I created a particular quotation now. Okay, this quotation has been created. Let's go to the display, take the quotation number, and I'll keep it aside with me. Okay, I'll just keep it here, and now I'll try to create a sales order again. I'll try to create /NVA01. I'll not create anything with reference. I'll create OR 1000. This one. I'll give the same customer number that is there. Okay. Okay. Delivery not possible because this blocked. Okay, is blocked from the credit control, right? Okay, and then we'll just change it later. Okay, but we'll see that scenario a bit later. Again, because again we'll be solving something else. Okay, now when you create a sales order, then it will have to give you a warning saying that there's an quotation exists, whether you wanted to use that quotation or not. Because you're not creating with reference to some quotation, you're directly creating a sales order with exactly with the same customer and with the same let's say material. So we'll see that, okay, a bit later. But at the moment, just try to understand this, so that we'll not miss these fields. We still have a lot of fields to cover, right? So we'll see it when we actually create our own data. Okay, so that's the purpose of this quotation messages or the outline agreements messages that you will have. Whether to give any messages or not while creating the subsequent documents like orders, or while creating a sales order, whether to check for some open quotations and or to check for your open agreements. Then you have document pricing procedure. Okay, so this document pricing procedure is one of the key or the critical fields for your pricing procedure determination in your sales order. While creating your sales order, you will be getting we'll talk about pricing procedure. While creating sales order, you will have something called pricing that comes. Now here for this order, the price is 5,500. How do you know? It's because of the pricing that is getting determined. If I just go here and if I go to conditions tab in my sales order, I have something called a base price 5,500, and there is a tax of there's an output tax of 825 this thing, so total is 6,350, and my cost is some 800. So there is some profit margin. So every detail that you can see, this prices needs to get determined, will be automatically determined based on something called condition records that we maintain, but we have something called a pricing procedure behind it. So in every sales order, if I just go to click on this analysis, you will have something called a pricing procedure. Okay, this pricing procedure has to get determined automatically in your sales order. And again, we'll talk about how the prices and all gets determined automatically, but this is the key prerequisite field for your pricing procedure determination. You will be creating one pricing procedure, but again, this document pricing procedure will play a very key role in order to pick which pricing procedure. Okay, so if you remember, in the customer master we have also seen something called a customer pricing procedure. Okay, based on the customer pricing procedure in your customer master, based on your document pricing procedure in your sales order type, and based on your sales area, which is your sales organization, distribution channel and division, you will be guys, just give me 1 minute. Uh, okay, I think it stopped. Sorry, just 1 minute please, I'm getting some other call. Okay, sorry, I just got a call. Okay. Uh, so mainly we were just talking about the document pricing procedure, right? So as I was mentioning, like, you need the customer pricing procedure, the document pricing procedure, and your sales area, which is a combination of your sales organization, distribution channel, and division. Okay, this will give you the actual pricing procedure. So we'll see how the pricing procedure and all when we come to the right topic. But here you just need to understand this document pricing procedure is one of the key fields to determine your pricing procedure in your sales order. Based on this, which pricing procedure has to be triggered will be known. Okay, so this is about the document pricing procedure. Then we have something called a status profile. Okay, status profile is, again, it's nothing but uh, it's kind of further, we have something called a workflow that we will have. So workflow is nothing but your approval process. So basically, once a sales order is created, there has to be some manager who has to go and approve the sales order, unless and until you cannot create a delivery. There'll be some there. There'll be some, some requirements from a business point of view, saying that, okay, once the user creates a sales order, it has to block the sales order. Then there'll be some relevant person who goes and releases a sales order. So he'll go and release some sales order. Maybe some manager goes and release some sales order. After manager, maybe some general manager has to go and release some sales order. uh, Again, like, once he is created, then someone else has also should go and release a sales order, and so on and so forth. So here, if in case there is some status profile that needs to be assigned, like, if you have this status profile, uh, that would be there. So then, like, we can use this particular, you can define your status profile and can be assigned. But again, status profile is also again a different concept. So we will talk about it in the later stages, how the status profile would be created. Okay, it's again a different concept. So again, if in case, let's say, if you would like to maybe just say, uh, as of now, we will not see in detail, we'll talk about it, but just to show you guys, if I just go back to sales and distribution, in the same menu in SPRO and sales and distribution, again, I think we'll just go here, IMG sales and distribution. In the sales and distribution, let's go to sales. We'll go to sales documents. Inside this sales document, we'll have define and assign status profile. Okay, here you will be defining some status profile that would be there. We'll talk about it when we come into the details of a status profile. But okay, there will be some details that we'll be defining in the status profile. Who is a project manager, who has to approve, what is his position and all. Maybe I'll try to take something in English just to see. Okay, here there's nothing that is there, because now this is all it can be used in a different way. But okay, it's just that this at the moment you could just try to understand. Okay, you have here, we will have something here as a status profile, which you can again assign in your this can be again assigned in your let's say, to your sales documents, or to your uh, you know to your whatever, to your inquiries or quotations. You can assign the status profile, then that would come into picture. But the configuration is just below this. We were in the sales document header. Just come out of this, we have here something called define and assign status profile. Okay, but we'll talk about it in detail when we come about the status profile topic. But if you have such requirement to have some but in real time, honestly talking, we will have something called an there is a concept called a workflow. So which is basically a custom workflow that we will have for who has to trigger what, and everything will be controlled with the help of a workflow. And that's again purely a customized way of working. But if in case they don't want to go with a customized way, if they would like to go with the standard status profile, it can be assigned. But in many of the business scenario, we don't go with the standard status profile that would be there. But if it's a requirement, we can we can just make it according to the business. We will tell them if they like a solution, they'll go it, or else they'll have to go with their own custom logic. Okay, right. And then here you have alternate sales document types. Okay, alternate sales document types is basically, again, this we will, while creating a sales order, it might be easy because we had data. So what happens is, like, you are creating an order type with, let's say, OR by mistake, but your order type actually has to be ZOR. You are supposed to create a document type with ZOR, but you're creating an order type with OR. Okay, just for an example. So by mistake, if in case you are selecting a different order type, and if you have this alternate sales document type assigned here, then you're allowed to switch between the document types during the sales order creation. Maybe, like, you have like hundreds of materials that needs to be entered in a particular sales document. You're working on it. The user is working on a particular sales order and he's adding all the materials, and in the middle he realized that you're using a wrong order type. Then if he cancels and again goes back inside, whatever he has been working is completely waste, right? If in case such kind of a scenario exists, this will be really helpful in terms of, like, these this for the main user, or certain, let's say, some maybe during some tele sales or during this internet sales that happens, where there's actually some backend, there is some there's endless materials, or there are so many things that would be getting placed. Then this will be really comes into handy to switch between the document types without leaving the current document creation. Basically, if you don't maintain, what happens, you need to leave your sales order, again come back with all the new details and all. But if you maintain this alternate sales document type in such business scenarios where, you know mainly in terms of telesales or something, like, when they're taking an information by talking, while on the phone, they're creating a lot of orders, then they would like to switch between the different document types. They could do this, provided you assign those document type, the alternate sales document type 1 and alternate sales document type 2. If in case they're assigned between these document types during the creation itself, you could you could switch your documents. Okay, you could switch your documents during the creation itself without the requirement to go back. Okay, here again, uh, you have something called incomplete messages. So we were talking about something called an incompletion procedure just above here. So I was just telling, incompletion procedures will have all the mandatory fields that we will have and all. Then what is this incompletion messages? The incompletion messages and incompletion procedure, the main difference is, in the incompletion procedure, let's say you maintain some mandatory fields and all, but it will not help you to proceed further with any subsequent documents if you don't maintain the incompletion procedure. But it will allow you to save your sales documents. So the sales documents uh, get saved, so you can create a sales order, but it does not allow you to proceed to create any subsequent document unless and until you finish that incompletion procedure. But your sales order can be saved, and you can come in the future and again fill those required values. Then you can go ahead and proceed ahead with your subsequent documents, like delivery creation or some other subsequent documents that you will have. But if you check this incomplete messages, then what happens is, then if in case you have some, let's say, if in case you have something in your incompletion in your sales orders or in your any of your document types where you check it, SAP will not allow you to save the document, will not allow you to save that particular sales document. the sales order or whatever that you're creating, unless and until that incompletion procedure is finished, SAP will not allow you to save your sales documents. But if you don't check this, then okay, it will allow you to save, but it will not allow you to do any subsequent document. In this case, if you check it, then you will be getting an error and you cannot even save your, let's say, a sales orders that would be there. Okay. Okay. Then in here we have something called this transaction variant. Here transaction variant is nothing but, basically the various screens that you would be having. So basically the screen sequence, if in case what needs to be displayed, what needs to be, like, transaction variant, mainly, like, uh, basically, like, you will have some transaction variant that would be assigned to a particular, you can create some transaction variant, but you'll be assigning them to some transaction codes and all, but not at the document level. uh, you can, using this transaction variant, basically, if in case you create any variant, you're just changing the behavior of your existing screen that appears. uh, like, maybe if you want to change some fields to be hidden, or if you want to change, uh, like, some fields that are not required, you wanted to hide all those fields. You wanted to, change the existing way that the sales document looks. Okay. So you define something called a transaction variant, and you assign that variant here, so that, you'll be knowing which fields, uh, you know which fields are to be blank, to be left blank, or, which fields to be maintained. And also, basically, here you can create your own variant. So we will have a particular, a transaction code. We have SHD0. I think it's SHD0. Okay, let me open one of the existing ones. SHD0. Here, for a transaction code, you can create your own screen variants. Basically, like, or maybe I'll just try to display some variants that I have. Maybe I'll try to select the existing variant. So in this transaction variant, you can say, okay, this field is invisible, this field output only, this field is required. So you can control what is required, what is, mandatory, what is optional, and all, using this particular transaction code called SHD0. And once you create that, if in case you wanted to assign this transaction variant to your sales document type, you can assign. But in generally, we control this with the help of this sales transaction code, not based on the document type. So if in case, if you enter this VA01, then which is mandatory, which is invisible, which is required, all this we will be controlling. If you want to change, you can create your own customized, variant as well, screen variant, and you can come and assign it to your sales document type, so that for all those sales document types, using this transaction code, then you will be able to, you can customize your own thing, which needs a mandatory, which needs an optional entry, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, this is something related to some screen variants that you will have to make the fields, whether it's a mandatory one or optional one, and so on. So you can create your own transaction variant as well. Okay, and you can control which screens, which screens are to be mandatory, which screens are to be optional, and all. But anyway, okay, this transaction variant, whatever you assign to your document type, will be kind of used in that particular kind of scenarios. Okay, this is basically the transaction flow, the that you need to know. We have discussed almost all the fields here, just for you to know in detail. Okay, then we'll just continue. We'll try to, just go through this quickly, but anyway, we'll just come to these topics again. So scheduling agreements, again, is just for then when we come to the scheduling agreement topic, we'll try to talk in more details. Then we have the shipping tab. Shipping basically is for this order type, what is a default delivery type that needs to be assigned. So when you're creating your, whatever the delivery type that you represent here. So while creating a delivery against the sales order, system will pick this delivery type as mandatory. So you're just telling the system what has to be mandatory, what has to be optional, in terms of creating, your while creating a sales order OR, then my delivery type DL has to be mandatory. Like you can define so that when you're creating a delivery document, by default, system will pick up that particular, let's say, that particular delivery type into consideration. Okay. Then in case you have this delivery block, then the delivery block will be again, whenever you're creating the sales document, then system will by default block the delivery unless and until it is authorized by a person who will check it. Like, whenever you have this release procedure and all, you can make this delivery block. So the delivery as for this sales order type, or for this document type, the delivery will be always blocked. So you cannot you cannot directly send it for the delivery unless and until it is released. So it is by default, you can block it at this sales document type level as well. Similarly, you have this shipping conditions. Shipping conditions is nothing but, now if you remember, you were you know uh, you are making shipping conditions that we have in the customer master as well. So based on the customer location, based on the type of customer, whether you will say, okay, what is the shipping conditions, whether it's standard shipping conditions or as soon as possible, or you can define your own shipping conditions as well, that we have seen. But for a particular document type, whenever you wanted to create a particular sales order type or sales document type, by default, if you want to use a default shipping conditions that would be there, then you will use this. If you maintain a shipping conditions here, which means this shipping conditions for this sales document type gets copied by default. Okay, this default, this will this will actually have the more priority over your, uh, let's say, uh, your customer master shipping conditions. Basically, in your customer master also you can maintain the shipping conditions, if you remember. So if you maintain the shipping conditions in both, let's say, in customer master as well as in your sales document type, so this, uh, let's say, the shipping condition that you maintain in the sales order type will be given more preference than the one that you have in the customer master. Okay, so this will be the, let's say, a standard shipping condition that would be taken by the system. Okay, all right. So again, you have this immediate delivery. What does this immediate delivery means? Like, uh, whenever you have created a sales order, so you're saying as soon as you save a sales order, whether you want system to create immediately the delivery in the, do you want the system to create a delivery immediately, or whether you wanted to create a, like, if you select A, which means the delivery is immediately. If you leave it blank, then you don't want to create the delivery immediately. And if you create it as X, then only the delivery will be created immediately if in case confirmed quantities we have. If you have confirmed quantities, it will have the delivery created immediately. So in generally, for a regular sales order type, you can keep it blank, but this immediate delivery will be mainly useful, let's say, in case of rush orders or the cash sales that you have. In terms of someone is coming and paying a cash and picking his stuff, so delivery is created immediately for him. So, or in case of some rush orders where he's placing some orders on a very quick basis, at that time you don't want to waste time for delivery creation and all. You wanted to create a delivery immediately so that it can be sent to the customers. In case of this rush orders or a cash sales, you can have this delivery immediately, that can be checked. Okay, Then here you have the shipping cost info profile, but okay, this is something related to the shipment cost document that we will have, but okay, we'll talk about it later. And uh, it's not completely part of, it will be mainly part of certain logistics activities that will be used in. But okay, we'll, on a high level, we'll discuss it on the later point. There'll be something called the shipment cost to calculate some shipment cost document. So you'll have some information, but okay, we'll discuss about it later. So it's not related to the delivery. It is mainly related to some shipment cost that it will be there. Okay. Then here you have billing. In the billing, then here you have delivery related billing and order related billing. So basically, you for a particular sales document, whenever you create, you can first generate an invoice, then do the delivery, or you can first create a delivery, then create an invoice. Both are possible. So, mm, so here, if in case you have delivery related billing, excuse me. So what is the billing type that is assigned by default? If in case if it's an order related billing, what is the default invoice type that is there? So in standard, always just just to know, whenever you're creating your sales order, uh, so here I was saying inquiry is your standard document type, quotation is your QT, or is your sales order. Same way, LF is your delivery type, and F2 is your invoice type. Okay, these are all the standard document types. Okay, uh, sales order, delivery type, invoice. This is sales order type, this is quotation, and this is inquiry. So these are all the standard document types that you have. We'll talk about in detail when we come to the delivery and the the invoice topic separately. But yeah, you can have there will be by default what is the delivery type, what is, I mean, by default what is an invoice type that we are just assigning here. Here you are assigning by default a delivery type. Same way you're assigning a default invoice type, that is here. And here you have something called an intercompany billing type. So again, this is not a sales invoice. This is if in case you have a transaction between two different company codes belonging to you. So where one company acts as a seller, another company acts as a buyer. We have something called an intercompany process. We'll talk about it. At that time, for an intercompany invoice, the standard invoice is IV. Okay, this will be your standard invoice that you will have. Then again, billing block, it is the same way as shipping block, that blocks for the shipping. And if you have a billing block, then it will block for your, the sales document will be blocked for billing, unless and until a particular authorized person checks if everything is fine, and he'll come and release the billing block to you. You're assigning a billing block at the header level. So basically, by default for the sales document, you wanted to block for the billing, unless and until this is approved. Okay, then here we have billing plan type and this payment guarantee procedure, this payment card type and all. But okay, they are that's something that we could just discuss a bit later. But just to give you a very high level overview, we will have something called a billing plan, but we will discuss in the later during the billing topic. I'll explain about billing. So we'll have something called a periodic billing and milestone billing and all that would be there. So here we are just mainly talking about what is a billing. If in case you have billing plan type, what it is, what it needs to be assigned. So there are something that we'll have along with some PS. We have some system. We'll have some module. If in case PS is there, then we will be having something called um, we'll have this billing plan type that would be there. So we'll talk about it when we come to that billing topic. But at this moment, maybe just to give you a very, just to just to understand very high level, what is the difference between a periodic billing and a milestone billing. Periodic billing means, for example, uh, for example, how is a billing that needs to be generated? For example, your postpaid connections and all, or your credit card payment. So the billing gets generated periodically. Every month 15th is what the bill has to get generated. Every month 20th. So the bill cycle would be periodic, that would be there. So the billing would be generated periodically for you based on this billing type. The an example of periodic billing. Milestone billing mean, for example, you have in your real estate sector or somewhere the billing, any industry that you can just think, based on certain milestone that is achieved, then you do the billing. Even in projects as well, you will have something called gates. If you achieve this gate, if you achieve that gate, so there'll be kind of a billing that gets generated based on the milestone. Like in the real estate, as soon as the groundwork is done, then you need to pay some 10%. Once the first slab, the first level slab, you need to pay some 20%. Then once the fifth level slab, then you will pay some another 20%. In construction, when you're buying a flat, you could be observing this kind of based on a particular milestone that would be achieved, there'll be a billing that would be getting generated. So that's called a milestone billing. So we will talk about it in detail about this billing plan later, but just for you to understand what is a milestone billing and what is a periodic billing, the difference between them, we're just talking here. Uh, and again, this payment guarantee procedure is something that you will have in your export process. Okay, so basically we'll talk about it in there. So there'll be something called a payment guarantee procedure when you're dealing with a customer who is not residing in your country. uh, you don't, and you're sending the goods to him, so you're not sure whether he will make a payment or not. So basically in that case, there will be something called we'll talk about the exports now. There'll be something called a letter of credit that you call it. So there'll be something called a letter of credit that would be received. Okay, so it is given by the bank. uh, it is given by the bank of the customer. So basically here, in generally, there is a customer who you're sending the goods, so you can't trust him whether he will make a payment or not, or he may just get absconded, because the rules would be different the country in which you're supplying the goods. Maybe you may not have any, you cannot trust. It might be difficult for a country to trust a particular guy who is there, but might be, it's much more easier to trust some banks. So you'll have your bank, and there'll be a bank in that particular country. They will send a letter of credit if in case he is not making a payment. Then we are make sure that he will make the payment. He has enough cash in his bank account. We are responsible to clear the dues and all. So like this, you will have something called a payment guarantee procedure that would be given by the banks, in foreign trade. So if you're maintaining this value here, then by default for this document type, you're asking what is a payment guarantee procedure that would be maintained. Again, the payment guarantee procedure, it's again, we will be assigning mainly based on the customer and based on the credit letter and everything that for the risk management documents we need to attach, if you are, if in case it's an export customer. Okay, and you have something called a payment card plan as well. So this also we'll talk about. It's mainly if in case, if in case the sales document is relevant for some payment card processing, we'll just maintain here. Payment cards are nothing but like, okay, but I'll also talk about it a bit later, but it's basically, it's a different concept. In many of the business scenarios, we don't use this payment card plan directly in SAP. We'll have some other ways, but okay, I'll explain you about this detail when we come to a particular topic. It's again during the billing topic that we come here. I'll explain about this payment card procedure as well. Okay. Yeah, again, you have this checking group. Checking group is again, whether it's a normal. Okay, but again, this is not the same checking group that we will be. Don't get confused with this checking group, because I will be talking about something called a checking group and a checking group for the availability check. But this is related to your, again, your payment cards. Uh, you know, like, whether it's an standard card or it's some virtual card and something like that. But okay, we will talk about it. They're linked. We'll talk about it on a very high level, during the when we come to the topic. Okay. Then here you have requested delivery dates and all this. Here basically, whether the system has to propose a delivery date or not, or it has to propose, the PO date. For example, lead time in days is basically whenever you maintain the lead time in days, whatever the dates that you maintain here. So, uh, here mainly it is controlling what would be the kind of, once it is, let's say once you create, uh, once the delivery is confirms, how can I explain? Mm, okay, so I'll just explain, maybe I'll just show. So, lead time in days is basically how much time in an overall for this particular delivery document, whenever you create a particular sales order, what is the lead time that would be taken for this particular, sales document to be delivered. By default, what is the time that would be taken? If in case you wanted to have, maybe, because in generally in the MRP type and based on some, let's say based on some customer and all, we can have, we'll be just calculating what is the lead time. But if in case for a particular document you want, by default there has to be a lead time that needs to be, you know that needs to be taken into account. Then we can use this, lead time in days. Okay. So again, yeah, that is mainly that we can see. Then again here you have, uh, date type and proposed delivery date and proposed PO date. So these three fields, the date type, the proposed delivery date, and proposed, let's say PO type. So here mainly these three will control, the format of your, uh, it's basically like, how you want system to, whether this is mainly if you want the date type means, the delivery, you have seen this values already, right? What is the date type, whether it's a day, week, month, or planned according to the calendar and all. But they will be, they will be, here whatever you maintain the date type will be by default, that would be coming, that would be mainly controlling your requested delivery date. And again, the proposed delivery date is again, whenever you wanted to propose a delivery date by the system automatically. So whenever you create a sales order based on your lead time in dates, or based on your, other MRP and other parameters that we discuss in some material master. So you want system to propose a delivery date, then you will use this proposed delivery date option here. If you check this, then system will, where if you select this, then system will check the requested delivery date, what is, by when, uh, you know by again, uh, there is something called, we will talk about it. There's something called backward order processing and all. Whenever you create your sales order, right? So there will be a requested delivery date that would be done by the customer. So customer will have something called a requested delivery date. He will be creating an order and he will say, I want the goods to be delivered on this date. Okay. And then again you will do some MRP runs saying that, okay, whether you can, whether the delivery can be achieved on that day. Then there will be something called back order processing, and we'll talk about it in detail. And system will propose by when we can deliver the goods to the customer. So this checkbox is mainly when you're saying for this document type, based on all the checks, based on the requested delivery date and all. Okay, by when, the what is the date that system would propose, whether the system should propose or not. Okay. And okay, if in case he does not, again, okay, I think we will just check it when we have the data. We'll try to check it up. But this proposed delivery date, whenever you check this, I think the current day, the creation date would be taken as a requested delivery date. let's check this. But if you check this, what happens is the proposed delivery date, then your, yeah, okay, this is correct. So what happens is system would propose, like, your current creation date as your requested delivery date here. Correct. If you don't check it, then system will do the calculation. But if you check this proposed delivery date, then your sales order creation date, system will be, by default, will be taking it as a requested delivery date by the customer. If it's not checked, then it will check from the actual days that would be there. Okay. Again, here you have the proposed pricing date and all. You know, this is for determining some price document. So you will have what is the date of the price that the system has to take into account will be maintained here. Proposed pricing date. So whether your contract start date as your pricing date, or today's date you need to take, or your delivery date as your pricing, or your valid from. So again, depends upon, if it's a quotation, it may be the valid from date. If it's a contract, it may be the contract start date. Just again, based on negotiation, we'll be just maintaining whether what is the pricing date system should consider while creating an order. Okay, so maybe you say the day you create an order, whatever is the price that we have, this will come into handy when you have, let's say, when you're working in an industry where the prices gets fluctuated. Maybe let's say you will have like gold and all. Today there'll be one price, and the delivery date might be another, there'll be a different price. If you have that, which date that needs to be considered, that needs to be freeze, is what we will just be maintaining in here as a proposed pricing date and all. Okay. um, yeah, for the contract, when we come to this, for a contract, you have some pricing procedure header and all that we will be talking, and that's okay. And I think rest of the fields we will be discussing whenever it comes. I think at the moment, these are all the fields that you need to know in your sales document types. Okay, clear on these fields to understand what does this fields do. If when you have the transaction data, I would say always create, change, like already I mentioned, go change a particular field, create an order, see how it reflects, then change the field, again see how it reflects. For an inquiry, quotation, or an order, use these transaction codes. Just try to enter into these transaction codes and see how the system behaves. VA11, VA21, VA01, VA31. As of at the moment, maybe if you don't create also, it's not a problem, but just try to enter into these transaction codes and see changing the values, how does it system differs. So if you change certain fields, how is that it's becoming like an sales order, how is that it becoming like an inquiry, how is that it becomes like a quotation and all, you'll be able to find it from there. Okay, clear on the sales document types? Any questions?